Favourite moment in a lot of people's week, this interview that we have. It's very, very more popular than you probably realise.
I'm not quite sure whether that's a bloody good thing or some people need to get out a little bit more.
Oh, well, we have a bit of fun, don't we? That's the main thing.
Exactly. Right. So, did you watch the NFL?
No, I didn't. Who won that?
Oh, Storm won. Just put too many points on the young Penrith Panther team right up front. But that Penrith team is going to be a force for the next 5 odd years. A whole lot of young guns. Yeah, they got smoked by the experienced, lot. Yeah, Cameron Smith included. But boy, will they be eager over the next sort of few years. So watch that team.
Yeah, okay. I can sort of take or leave the league, to be fair. I'm a bit of a fair weather friend when it comes to league. In saying that, someone that is on our books is Razor Robertson, and he's coming to Hamilton this week. He's doing a gig on Friday. And I want to put a question out there, and I'm going to ask you first. I want you to be honest. So, how much do you reckon my car would be worth? We've met each other a couple of times. We do this. Like, just if you were guessing of a range of how much you think my car's worth. Oh, thanks, Banjo. What do you reckon it's worth, roughly?
Oh, wouldn't have a clue.
Oh, come on, have a guess. Play along.
Well, you're talking to someone that, when they were bloody chief economist of ANZ, used to drive around with this thing that if it was worth 15,000, that would have been an exceptional offer at the time. I just wasn't someone that
come on, mate. Come back
my cash up in a big depreciating asset. And it wasn't until I sort of got to a certain age, and I won't sort of let you know what that age was, but I sort of
50.
thought, stop it. I'm going to get out there and get a few more of the toys, and the boat turned up, and the nicer car and that sort of stuff. But I'm still going through the deliberations at the moment, right? Because, what do I get next? The thing I'm driving is about 7 years old. But kids love it. So.
Okay, so I'm guesstimating here on what my car is currently worth. I reckon somewhere conservatively between 2.5 and 4K. Okay, so the question that I have for our viewers tonight is, should I pick Razor up in my car or make some excuse and make him taxi to Hamilton? What would you do? And I want you to be, you're an experienced economist, you're experienced in business. What would you do if you were in my shoes?
Mate, he's a rugby boy. Pick him up on the car.
That's what I reckon too. I think you're right. I think you're right. I think you'll go.
I bet he's probably done a few of those Under 500s between Christchurch and Dunedin.
Yeah. No, that's good. Okay, I'm glad.
The irony now, a lot of those cars that they used to do the old Under 500 and the old Holden Kingswoods and that sort of stuff, they're bloody gone for about 15 to 20 grand. They've become collector's items.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm going to do a few shout outs before we rip into it. I know you're pushed for time, but we'll just be very quick. So I want to do a shout out, top right hand corner, just above Cam's head there. So The Death of Music Journalism by my mate Simon Sweetman. Wow, bloody brilliant. Go out and support it. He wants you to go and buy it at a bookstore, so do that. Kevin Dean, a mate of mine for how many years? 20 years? I don't know, a long time. He's just celebrated 25 years in real estate. Great guy, straight up. I like all those Harcourts boys, actually. My office manager is co-owner of, my ex-office manager, obviously, is a co-owner of Harcourts Hamilton. I love all those Harcourts guys. So well done, Kevy. Big Kev, 25 years. Brilliant. Mark Bunty books 25 years. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Bunty. Jeez, I tell you what, we used to be competitors. Jeez, he's a fierce competitor. He is a fierce competitor. And we used to go at each other like this with the radio stations, and we would just give each other plenty. And now we're really good mates. So happy birthday, brother. Hope you've had a great birthday. Catherine Downs, it's her birthday today. And her husband, David Downs, it was his birthday yesterday. And that's typical because those two are so organised. Let's have the birthday there and your birthday. So well done. Happy birthday, Catherine. And happy birthday to Jeremy Parkinson. I think probably the best radio producer, talkback, that I can think of. I'm sure there are other good ones, but he's the best that's springing to mind. Also very good on air, incredibly good on air. Probably, I don't know how many shifts he's doing at national radio these days, but very, very accomplished on air, should be on air. Happy birthday, Jezza. You're a great man. Right, I suppose we better talk to you. What do you want to start with, big guy?
I don't know. We can start with
how about imports?
Sorry?
How about imports? What's happening with imports?
Interesting, right? To see it's not just about imports, but it's been the divergence between imports versus exports. So, the farmers have probably been a little bit beaten up excessively over the past couple of years, but when push comes to shove, they've delivered the goods. So if I have a look at New Zealand exports over 2020, they're basically tracking in line. In fact, they're a little bit up on 2020. And it just sort of reinforces that, when push comes to shove, New Zealand's, one big farm and used to be a nice place to visit. Well, they can't come anymore. But if I look at the import numbers, the stuff that's coming in the door, imports are down about 6.5 billion on a year ago. Now, part of that reflects weaker demand. We're consuming less oil, the planes are not flying, that sort of stuff. Passenger motor vehicle imports have collapsed as well. But a lot of the story has actually been about sourcing supply. It's actually getting the stuff. And New Zealand, whether it be good luck, good management in regard to COVID response, we've managed to keep the supply chain open. And the world needs to eat, so our stuff's been going out the door. Bit of a different story in regard to what we're seeing in other countries around the globe. And it's going to be really interesting over the next sort of few months because, of course, we're heading into winter. We're seeing COVID rear its ugly head more and more up in the northern hemisphere. And odds are that supply chain, those big factories in Germany, the UK, the tiles from Italy, or some of the products we bring in from France, they're going to be helplessly difficult to source. So we might want to buy the stuff, but I suspect the stuff is going to be a little bit difficult to obtain. So, what does that mean? Well, I don't think some of those items are going to be discounted. If you want the stuff, you're going to have to pay for it. You go into these shops now and you have a look at the whiteware items, dishwashers, jet skis. These things have now got a bit of a backlog in regard to orders because the global supply chain, it's just a bit of a mess. And I suspect it's going to get even worse because COVID continues to escalate around the globe. And if COVID escalates, people are staying at home, they're not going to work. That means people are not spending, but it also means that countries are not producing.
Yeah, okay. Hey, going off topic a little bit, what do you make of the US election and what's your thoughts on that and on what different results could mean on the global economy and what it could mean for New Zealand? Sorry, I didn't say that we were going to discuss this, but I know that you can just bloody talk about anything. So what's your thoughts on that?
My central scenario at the moment is that Biden is going to be reasonably comfortable. And one of the reasons I'm increasingly in that camp is just the early voting. And your early voters tend to be new voters. They tend to be younger voters. And I know Trump's still got his mainstream supporters and they'll be rolling out late. But I think he's playing catch up. He's too far behind. And he's
I don't know, mate. I don't know.
No,
I don't know. How about
would,
right, we're going to bet lunch on it, okay? Because I want Trump out because I just do not like the guy. How about some of the stuff where Biden has got there's mixed messaging that he's sending out there about fracking? You know, like in key states like Pennsylvania, he's messing up the messaging where, and you know, there's a lot of jobs in some of these electorates where fracking is very important. And this old school way of doing things is very important. There's a lot of jobs attached to it. And Trump seems to be very clear on his messaging, whereas Biden just seems a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, and I guess it's a little bit unfortunate in regard. It tells a little bit of a story about American politics, where if you go back and have a look at the previous election, it was Hillary versus Donald, and now it's old Joe versus
Sleepy Joe.
Donald. And you sit there and you think about, well, what's, you know, we're trying to pick the tallest pygmy here, and neither is that attractive in regard to what the appeal is to voters.
No, you did right.
I still think he's going to get rolled.
The
bigger issue here is that if he loses, is he going to leave without a fuss? And I suspect the short answer is no. And what does that actually look like? You know, when we're starting to see, it's been interesting the past couple of weeks, we're starting to see markets are getting pretty nervous around the globe for a couple of reasons. Look, one, people are concerned about whether there'll be a big stimulus package out of America, whether they can actually get agreement on that. What the election could actually mean if we get into something that's a little bit nasty on the other side. And then, of course, you've got COVID is just escalating. And the comments out of the White House the other night where they think they've lost control of the thing. Well, that's just, whoa, wow.
That's just, you can't say that. That was poor.
But that's, and some, fronts, it's actually reality. Because this thing, if you're not surrounded by water, such as New Zealand, if you don't have a population that's reasonably dispersed across the country, like if you've got big major city centres and you're pretty well connected into other countries such as Europe, this thing is bloody hard to contain. So elimination, lockdown is basically, to get rid of it, is basically an impossibility. It was always going to come back. And now we're seeing Greece, France, Spain, you name it, everybody's going through the same sort of thing.
Yeah, but I don't know if you that could be true, but Trump's man basically, I thought once again, well, the messaging wasn't that great. It was kind of like, and of course CNN jumped on it like you wouldn't believe. The funny thing is CNN and Fox now are just like 24/7 political broadcasts. Both of them have just gone, right, this is our man, and they get guests on. The guests are always like, so it's almost like they've had a planning session before the interview, going, let's get this guy on and let's make sure that he really hammers Trump. And it's like, okay, so what do you think? Do you think Trump's like boom? And same with Fox. It's just like, I can't actually bear either one of them at the moment because it's just like such rubbish on both sides. Both of them say they're balanced, facts first and everything, and it's just so one-sided. It's not funny. It's crazy.
Well, I go back and I think I've said it a few weeks ago. It's like the Roman Empire and the British Empire that is, they're still dominant, but they're in a state of decline. Once you start to see the leadership start to fragment and you don't get real quality people at the top, it proliferates down. And we're starting to see it.
Let's talk about infrastructure. It's a major problem right now, right? Do we have a decent framework to...
It's actually been laughable when I go back now and I have a look at what the government has sort of put into these long-term projections over the past 4 odd years in regard to how much they're going to spend on infrastructure. And the conclusion out of it is there basically is no structure. If you look at stuff that the government has got in place. Like they sort of know what they're going to need to be spending for the next 10 years in regard to superannuation, healthcare. You make an allowance of population growth, but they sort of know where they're going to be a decade out. Look, if I have a look at infrastructure, for instance, like the previous fiscal strategy reports, which compare your 10-year forecasts. If I go back to I think it's a 2016 or 2017 fiscal strategy report budget. What were they flagging then? They were going to have your capital investment, infrastructure spend was going to be $4 billion a year, growing at about 20% per year, because they thought they had a little bit of scope. So over the space of a decade, that was going to be 80 odd billion, something like that. We get into 2018, and then it's 9.5 billion per year, growing at 2% per. No, sorry, I think it's 4.5. So what's that all up? It's about 120 odd billion over a decade. We roll into the 2019 budget, and all of the screws that need to come on a little bit because we're spending a little bit more in other areas. So we're going to drop that capital allowance infrastructure spend back to 6.6, and we're going to grow in line with inflation. So over a decade, that adds up to about 70 billion. And then we roll into the 2020 budget, and the number's now 3 billion per year, growing in line with inflation, which is like about 32, 33 billion. So in the space of a couple of years, we've been throwing infrastructure spend over the space of 10 years around to the tune of $100 billion. Like it's ridiculous. It just shows me there's no long-term planning that's going into these sort of stuff. And in the old debt narrative, there's an accountant that's basically saying, look, we need to hit these debt numbers. So because we need to hit these debt numbers, the infrastructure spend is going to be around here, which is a way of managing a book. Is absurd.
Okay, imagine this guy, Cam Bagrie, with your clients, with your staff, talking about your particular industry, your region, opportunities for your customers. Basically what he does is he gives his fee is for the day, and it's a bloody reasonable fee. He comes in, does a lot, absolutely fantastic. Message me at Essential Talent if you want to get this wonderful man working with your clients. He is in huge demand right now. Okay, let's talk about house prices. What the hell is going on? It's like, what about this double figures dip that everyone was predicting, and now they're saying double figures growth? Like, what's going on? Explain it to me. I don't get it.
Oh, the Reserve Bank hit the turbocharge button and basically said, we've got your back. So interest rates go down, you take out the investment alternatives, i.e. deposit rates, people no longer inclined to keep the money in the bank, and whereas out there chasing residential property, you throw into the mix structural changes in the market, such as people looking at bigger homes because they need an office, offshore Kiwis returning, a few other factors as well, and lo and behold, you light a fire, and the market's off to the races. My personal view is the market's going to come back at some stage, because unemployment is still moving up. Although a caveat here, look, some of the unemployment numbers, job seeker benefit numbers, the growth has started to level out. So we're starting to see some real encouraging stuff on the ground where we know there's still challenges. The tourism season is around the corner. So the international tourists are not turning up. So the tourism sector faces challenges. The migration numbers are weak, but net on net, if you step there and think about where the economy is today compared to even what the Reserve Bank was saying 2 months ago, we're in a helplessly better space. But yet they still seem to be prepared that they're pursuing this idea of negative interest rates. Taking interest rates down to these record low levels. If you're a borrower at the moment, there's about 150 billion worth of mortgage debt that's rolling off for the next 12 months. That's about a half of all mortgage debt. And you're going to walk into the bank and you're going to get an interest rate that's going to be south of 2.5. Like, the interest rate savings are just massive. Like, investors, first home buyers, if you can get the deposit, if mum and dad can sort of throw you a bit of coin, you're in like Flint. Unfortunately for, a lot of other people that don't have the deposits, and are struggling with their jobs, there's going to be a fair bit of angst out there. So it'll be interesting in the next 3 months just to see the blowback. In fact, in the last 48 hours, we've started to see a few more articles come out. People are starting to sort of look at, is this right? And naturally, people are starting to look to government. What can you do to help us? There's this big gap at the moment there between Wall Street, owners of assets, which benefit from higher asset prices, versus those people that don't have assets that are potentially suffering or at risk of losing their jobs. So that's a recipe for social angst.
Yeah, very, very, very true. So is it true that about half of the mortgage debt will be up for refinancing in the coming year? Is that right? Or have I got that wrong?
No, it's coming up. So there's about 150 billion that's going to get refinanced.
Right.
So if I look at the average interest rate on a typical mortgage at the moment, it's about 3.6%. Where's the market at the moment? 1 and 2 year rate around 2.5, 2.6, but those rates have fallen. So people are going to walk in, and the typical mortgage is probably going to find that at least the interest only component. You're going to get a saving of about 30 to 40% in regard to what your interest bill is going to do. So the numbers are massive.
Yeah, God, yeah. I think we've covered the job front, haven't we?
You're starting to see the job seeker numbers past couple of weeks, they've just leveled out a little bit, which is encouraging. But we're still heading into that season where the tourism stuff, a lot of those temporary jobs appear. I don't think they're going to be there, but the flip side is there's some sectors out there, horticulture, screaming for staff.
Yeah, they are. I saw some ad the other day, and like the hourly, I think it was, they were saying, well, like these are growers and wanting people to go and pick fruit, and they were like $200 a day. I was like, shit, I'll get out there. Where is it? Tell me, where do I go?
I got through university by contract fruit picking, right? And if you get out there and do the bloody work, there's good money in it. But it's pretty exhausting at the end of the day. So the Corona beer, or way back in those days, a Spates beer used to taste pretty damn good at the end of a hot Central Otago day after you began hell for leather picking the cherries.
One of my first jobs was, when I was a kid, was doing gardening for the Arafanua Hotel. And I went out and I basically bloody weeded and mowed lawns, and the old bastard used to bloody, work me to I don't know how old I was. I think I was 15 or something. Because my parents, like back then, your parents just said, well, if you want money, go out and knock on some doors and ask to do some jobs. I don't know. Does that still happen these days as much? I don't know if it does it?
Well,
maybe I just need to have a chat with my sons. But anyway, and so at the end of it, he'd say, he was grumpy as hell, and then he said, okay, come inside and I'll give you a shandy. So I think that was my first, it's like a little bit of beer, and the rest of it was lemonade. And I was like, thirsty as hell too. Big day out. Okay, prediction for the rugby. I know you love. Oh, do you know what? I think you'd love your own separate show where you just talk about rugby and your mighty Highlanders.
I'll give you a heads up. I'm more of a leaguey.
Are you real? Yeah. See, really?
I switched the league about my second year at university, and I found league a lot more of an honourable game. At least if you're going to get whacked.
No, I'm not going to put up with that. No, I'm not going to put up with that.
A bloody hit on someone. There's a fair chance you're going to come off second best. It was a lot cleaner than rugby in regard to some of the stuff that used to go on.
Well, this has been a great friendship, and I've liked the chats, but I just think I think that's so just appalling that you would say that. More honourable game. Gee. Anyway, I know you still love your rugby. So what are you picking with this next test? Quite interesting.
I think the All Blacks are going to, they'll keep refining their game and they'll win. Well, I just don't think it's the first test match of every season I've seen that the All Blacks are slow out of the blocks. Well,
yes, that is true. But I thought Australia in that first test were really good. I can see Rennie all over them. I can just the discipline. I thought the defence was fantastic. I don't know. I reckon Australia will go good again. I think it's closer than people realise.
Well, I hope they do because it's good for rugby.
Yeah, it's entertaining, isn't it?
Yeah, well, South Africans must be sitting there and thinking, oh, what if? But it's good, and now Victoria's opening back up a little bit. Wouldn't you love to imagine what Melbourne's going to be like tonight?
Oh, I've got I've got a few mates in Melbourne, but I've got a shout out to Paul and Nicole who moved over there recently. They've only been over there for probably 12 months. And I think they've been in, because I asked him last night, I said, how long have you been in lockdown for? And he said, since June, I think he said. Yeah. Does that sound right?
Yep.
I love that city too. Shit, Melbourne's a great city. Love their sport, great restaurants, great people. All their people, when you see them, they're walking down the street, they all look like they're on a bit of a mission, but not full of themselves. And the service is great. And they love their sport, love their art, love their music. Just a great city, I reckon. Good on them.
One of the things I want to do is take my young kids to the tennis.
Oh,
I think that's just an awesome event.
That's on my bucket list. I watch that every year. My old man used to take me out, all us kids, and he would play tennis with us for the entire weekend. I mean, the entire weekend until it was dark and we could hardly see the tennis ball. And you go, okay, guys, we're gonna go home. And I watch that. I watch that Aussie tennis every year, and it's just stunning, isn't it? Shit, it's good. Hey, have you seen? I tell you something.
Melbourne put on really good events.
Oh, they do, eh? They really do.
Yeah.
Hey, have you?
Take your head off to the Australians. They know how to run sporting events. They're really.
Are you into your motorsport? Are you into your motorsport at all?
Oh, not really. Always way back in the day, I always sort of sit down there and look at old Peter Brock and Bathurst and old Dick Johnson and those sort of characters. Sort of lost track of that sort of stuff now.
I've never been into it, and thus the $2,500 car. My youngest boy, for some reason, absolutely loves motorsport, loves cars, the whole thing. And I've just put him on to an episode of Letterman's new show on Netflix called My Next Guest Needs No Introduction, season 2, and he interviews Lewis Hamilton. And it's great television. Even if you're not into motor racing, it's bloody. He takes Letterman out for a drive, a hatch. And goes around this course. Very good television. Anyway, I'll let you go, mate. Thank you very much for your time. Half an hour. Generous with your time, as always. Good things will happen to you. All right, sir. Talk to you soon.
Safe.
Okay, goodbye.